Okay, guys, so today's video, we are going to be talking about a topic that you guys requested, you guys voted on, which is the difference between medical coding and medical billing. So I put a poll on my community tab asking what video would you be interested in next. And the consensus was the differences between coding and billing. By the way, if you guys are not participating in my community polls and my community quizzes or haven't checked out the community tab on YouTube, I am inviting you right now today to do so. So go check me out. If you are scrolling through YouTube and you happen to come across something in the community from Level Up Medical Coding, just take a second and read it and interact. I love to hear your opinion and I love to connect with you guys outside of the videos. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. So we are going to be talking about what the differences are between medical coding and medical billing. You know, a lot of people feel like medical coding and medical billing are, you know, one and the same thing. And they are really, really closely related. Like most, well, I'm not going to say most, but some companies, entities, clinics, hospitals, healthcare systems pretty much combine the departments, pretty much combine coders and billers. But there are, you know, places that actually have those two roles individualized because they are individual roles. There are a certain skill set that coders have that billers don't necessarily have, and there are certain skill sets that billers have that coders don't necessarily have. So let's just jump right into it. So let's just start off with the scenario, right? You as the patient, you go into the doctor's office, you let them know what's going on with you, whether it's a sick visit, meaning that you're actually coming in because you have a specific problem that you need to address, or you're coming in for just a checkup, you know, an annual checkup. You go in the doctor's office, you talk to the physician, the nurse practitioner, or what have you. They put down a diagnosis, do their little charts, and send you on your way. Whether they send you on your way with a clean bill of health, or they prescribe you some medications, or they ask you to take labs, whatever the case may be, whatever happens in that visit happens. You leave. A few weeks later, here comes a bill in the mail. Now, the question is, how did we get from the doctor's visit to the bill that you received in the mail or the EOB from your insurance company? So in between that, there's a lot of things that happen. And one of those steps or two of those steps are where coders come in at and billers come in at. So coding actually happens before billing can take place. So once the physician or the provider finishes up with the visits, finalize their charting, take their notes and everything, they send those records off to the revenue cycle department or the coding department. The coder then will take the encounter, meaning everything that was done that day, whether it was just the office visit or there was other things involved. Maybe you had to visit radiology, maybe you had to visit the lab, but they take the whole encounter. They gather all those notes from each of the providers that has something to do with your visit, and they just kind of go through all of that. And they just go ahead and, you know, pull codes from all of those charts, from all of those records. So the coder has a responsibility of looking at the medical note and either confirming what each provider documents as the right codes that they want to report to the insurance company, or they themselves extract the correct codes that will be sent to the insurance company. This happens because the insurance, and as with everything else, is basically an electronic world, and we have a set of codes that helps the process of billing and approvals with the insurance go a little bit faster. So these are universal codes that is used all over the United States, and it should be the same in all 50 states in the United States and maybe even abroad. But so they take two sets of codes, sometimes three, more than likely the diagnosis codes, which is your ICD-10 codes, and your procedure codes, or your evaluation and management codes, or your surgical codes, which is all housed under your CPT codes and labs and pathology and stuff like that. Then you also may have like some drug codes. You may also have like some durable medical equipment. Those are all housed under the HCPCS code set. So that's why I say two, maybe three codes, three code sets are used in an encounter. So what the coder do is sit in front of the computer, pull up the electronic healthcare record, go through the encounter, make sure that all the documentation is there. They extract those codes or verify those codes. They make sure that everything is compliant with how federally regulated the healthcare system is. We have to make sure that everything is completed on that chart so that it would be a legal record in compliance to go out and to the insurance companies and whatnot. So we make sure that all the components to the note is completed, such as and not limited to the diagnosis, the procedures that's being done, the format of the note, the provider signatures, and just everything is complete on the note. We also make sure that what is being billed is proper and correct and is to the highest specificity. And we try to ensure that whatever is being done is medically necessary for that particular procedure or that particular CPT code. So we have to make sure, like I do mental health a lot, and a lot of mental health procedures or mental health CPT codes require you have a mental health diagnosis. And so if there is any other codes that came through besides what in my world we call the F code, if there's any other codes that come through besides an F code, then it would be my job to query the provider to make sure that this is what they meant to document and it wasn't something that was incorrect. So we're the next set of eyes to just make sure that everything is being done correctly. Once the chart in the encounter has been overlooked by a coder, has been coded, has been verified that all the proper documentation is, correct and everything is like in compliance, then we will send the claim off to the insurance company. This is usually done electronically. It goes to the clearinghouse. It goes through this first. It goes through the scrubbers, so to make sure that it's all clean, it's as clean as possible. Then it goes to the clearinghouse, and then the clearinghouse sends it over to the insurance company. The insurance company does their thing, and they will either come back with a payment or a denial or whatever. That's when the biller comes into play. So the biller's job is either to take a look to ensure that the reimbursement is the correct amount, is checks out with what is the contracted rate that the entity, the provider agreed upon with that insurance company. So say for instance, if you go in and you get a flu shot, and the flu shot, is reimbursed at $25, let's say, and they send it off to the insurance company. Their job is to, if the claim was approved, their job is to make sure that we did indeed receive $25 because that's what we agreed that we would accept for payment for a flu shot. If it's any other payment besides $25, then the biller is to investigate to see why the payment was either more or less. Once we have gotten the approval, let's say everything is copacetic, everything checks out, the biller would either send it over to the payment posters so the payment posters can post the payments, or sometimes that happens with the biller. The biller will post the payments, make sure all the write-offs are done, the contractual agreements are, documented and whatnot, and that account is closed out. But let's just say that the claim was denied. So if the claim was denied, then it's the biller's responsibility to research why the claim was denied and to go and see how we can get that claim relooked at, reconsidered, so that we can seek payment. Whether it was a coding error, they would then send it back to the coder, ask the coder to take a look at this claim to see what they can do to rectify whatever the denial was. Maybe it was just a billing denial, say for instance. Maybe it was just a contractual agreement that, caused a denial. Or maybe it was like the benefits had exhausted. Or, maybe we didn't get a prior authorization, something like that. So they would just pretty much investigate why the claim was denied and rectify that. And so that's pretty much the difference between the coder and the biller. The coder is the person that actually extracts the code or verifies the code, make sure that sequencing is done correctly, for payments, make sure modifiers are on the codes, make sure the procedures that's being done is medically necessary. They query the providers if anything doesn't look right, goes along with the codes. They also, will help educate the providers on coding changes. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what coders do. The billers will get the claim after the claim has been paid, and they will do the research on why the claim was denied. They will also work rejections, say the clearinghouse reject the claim. They will also try to work to see why that claim was rejected. Maybe it was some demographic information that was incorrect. Maybe it was a provider's license number that was just invalid or incorrect or something like that. They just go and do the research to see why those things has caused the claim to not come back successfully paid. Or if the claim again was approved, then they go ahead and process the payments, give patient responsibilities, and do write-offs and things like that. So I hope that helped to clarify a little bit better the difference between the coder and the biller. Coders do have to be certified in most cases in order to obtain a job as a medical coder. A lot of times billers do not, but it is very, very, very much recommended that a biller do become certified to become a medical biller. It just helps. It just helps with the professionalism and overall credibility of a person, especially when they're looking for a job. So I hope this video was straight to the point. I'm trying to make it as clear and as simple as possible. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next video.